Welcome back, fellow scrubs. This is Mark D. Wiz. It's another Pocket Fighter EX Monday. We've got a lot of technical stuff to go over. We got manual update loops, which I just finished up over the week, and I put together a little bit of a practical application for fixed math and Unity and stuff, and so I'll go over all that. So, Pocket Fighter EX, if you don't know, is a community-based game. We're not affiliated with Capcom or SNK. We don't make any money. It's for fans, by fans, that kind of gig. I'm sure you know the drill. Alright, so the base game itself hasn't had much of an update, but I've been using a side project, or test project, might be the better word, or better terminology, to get... to get the fixed math stuff working, kind of like an isolated little thing. So if you don't know, I'm the creative director of Skyline Studio, and we put out a game called Hamster Drop a little while back, and so I'm using the assets and game design from that to kind of fuel this little side thing. And maybe this will turn into a fixed math port or something in general, but at the moment it's just a test thing. So I've got the character in Hamster Drop. You've got 5 lanes to stand in, and stuff falls down from the top, and you got to catch good stuff and avoid bad stuff. That's the basic thing. So the idea of moving between the lanes, if you press left, if it works here. I don't have an input buffer in, so it's not always catching it. But it's just a quick little mock-up. But the idea is that if you press left, you move to the next lane over, and then things only fall in lanes, so it's very structured, kind of arcadey thing. But all the movement here, like with this little dot following and everything, that's all fixed math. It's all deterministic. So as long as the same inputs come into the game, every time you play it, you'll get the same exact result. It's all, there's no floating point math being used for this kind of stuff. It's just going. It's going, and it's going good. So the first thing I want to go over is what I just did this week, which was the manual updater. Oh, that came on the other screen. Hold on. Let it load. Here we are. So far I'm calling it manual update. Here, manual update controller. So the manual update system goes outside of Unity's purview to do an update. So normally you use, like here, you use fixed update, or you use update or something in order to, go through your update cycle in the game. So fixed update is in fixed intervals of time. Normal update can change the time span that's going on. Now for deterministic stuff, you pretty much need to use the fixed update. And if you don't use fixed update and time gets out of sync, because one side of the game updated, say if you're doing net play, one side of the game updated a second and a half, and the other side only updated a second. Now, they wouldn't normally update with that large a time scale, but just say proportionally it ends up being that way, where one does a double update and the other one does a single update. Now you're completely out of sync. Or say one does 0.0 or 0.53 update and the other one does a 0.5 update. Now you're really screwed up. Like who's where? Somebody moved and the boxes only got calculated at the end of the update, and you're completely out of sync. You can't do that. So with the fixed update, everybody moves, the game time moves in step each time consistently. So, let's see, it would be like, calc, because I'm terrible at math here. So, 1 divided by 60, whoop, not 6. 1 divided by 60, so that's 0.016, roughly. I mean, 6 repeating, but you get the idea. That's the amount of time that one frame, 1/60th of a second is. It's 0.016 repeating seconds. So you have to make sure that both, like the in-game time, increments in this value every time that the game updates on both sides in order to keep yourself in sync. Otherwise it don't work. And then when you do a rollback with GGPO or any rollback netcode solution, if you make your own, you need to be able to rewind time, as we talked before. We need to load a state that was, say, 4 frames in the past, and then you need to update the game 4 times in a row in a split second. So you're going back in time, but you have to replay the game. You have to update the game 4 times to come back to where you were. And that's where this manual update controller comes in, because Unity doesn't really let you do that as far as I'm aware. You're kind of left to your own devices here. Unity will update going forward, but it won't ever undo an update or go back. Or even if you were to save a state and go back, you can't force Unity to update outside of the timing that it wants to update. Like, fixed update happens on some sort of timer. Like, there's some timer that they've got internally that it figures out when to actually do a fixed update to keep everything in a relative sync. And if it has to, it'll do 2 fixed updates before it renders another frame to the screen if it's like lagging behind. So it keeps some sort of step like that. The problem here is that you can't force fixed update to run, as far as I'm aware. So I've asked around and I've looked it up, and I can't find a single thing that tells me that I can tell Unity, hey, can you run that fixed update cycle for me? Apparently it doesn't happen. So you gotta kind of make your own update thing. And so there's good things and bad things about that. And I've done just that. So when you see this here running, this is running on my update. All these objects are running on my update here. And they're running all right. Now the animation's not, and I'll get to that in a second. Where does this divide? But the code that moves the character, and the code that moves this little block, is supposed to follow the character. So it's doing math to get it there. These used to rotate, but I disabled them for the moment. All that's running through this manual update. So what does this update do? Essentially, let's see. I don't need that. That's mostly for debugging, just to figure out how long it took to do the update. So what it's basically doing, it's doing 2 main things. What is that cheap looking game? You helped me make this game. It's only as cheap as you made it look. No, I thought art in Hamster Drop was really good. I wish we had more time to add a little to it at the time. But I think it came out pretty damn good looking. Now, for those of you who don't know, I haven't played it, this character is actually an unreleased character. Weena. There were 4 planned playable characters, only 2 made it in. And then Weena's animations were finished up after the fact. But we didn't have the resources to pump out an update. So she was fully animated, fully colored and everything. So I'm using her as the test subject here. So the manual update does 2 things. So when I call run update, and I can call it at any time, no matter where I am, it's going to build a queue. It's got to sort through the objects that are in play and figure out who goes first, what scripts get done first. And it builds kind of a list, and it says, all right, here's the order of things that need to update. And then you go through and you run those update queues. And then that's it. I mean, at face value, it's pretty standard. Unity does something similar, but it's not quite the same. I'm trying to get to the right place here. So if you're used to Unity, you may know about this feature. If you're not, it'll be something new. It's called the script execution order. And here there's not a lot because this is the test program. So you'll have like a test controller and some other stuff. I can add my player controller here. Put this here. So what this is this an order of the scripts that you have, of what order they should update in. So you can specify when certain things go. So Unity's already put these ones in here. So these are Text Mesh Pro, which is used to be an asset that somebody made, and then Unity bought them and integrated it into Unity's base model, which is really cool. They do that with some certain good ones. So these were put in here by Unity. So here's the event system. You probably want that to go first, but you can change it. You can say, hey, that one goes last. Then there's the Text Mesh Pro stuff, and then here's the thing I made, the player controller. And I'm saying, hey, before default time, and default time means that you haven't set a specific thing. So there's a lot of stuff in here. You could potentially, like what that was, there's all this stuff in here that you could potentially change when this happens. Interesting, I noticed the timelines in here. I don't use the timeline, I think that's more like a cutscene editor. Here's event system, base input, physics, raycaster. I'm not sure about that one. I usually call raycast like as they are. I don't know. I've never used an event system raycast. I don't know about that. Some of this stuff I haven't touched, like touch input module. I don't do that. I haven't used touch input. I'd probably use End Control's touch input anyway if I was going to do that. But there's all sorts of stuff here. And you can customize every script that you make, every C# script that you code, you can give it an order here. And it will go... So if there's multiple players, when it comes down this list, it'll say, hey, run all the player controllers right now. And then in default time, it's anything that's not specified. They give you, or it all gets lumped into there. And now, if it's in default time, it can run in any order that Unity sees fit. And we'll get to that in a second. And then our test controller, I put it after default time. So you could say that default time is like the normal game simulation. You would want to put up here, you'd want to put, like if you have a special input capture system, you want to put that up here at the top, because you want inputs to get captured before anything else runs. So if your player controller was before the input capture, you'd be running off old inputs. You'd be running off inputs from the last frame if input capture was below it. So you want to make sure like input capture is on top and things like that. It really helps cut down on like input lag and stuff if you have everything properly ordered. And some things like you want all the player controllers to get updated first. And then after, say you've got your camera controller, you want the camera to be the last thing. After everything's moved and everything's set down in order, you want your camera to be the last thing to update. That's basically what's going on here with this execution order. And that's great until you try to do your own. How do you replicate that? That's a built-in, baked-in Unity feature, so how do you replicate that functionality? Well, I did the best I could with it that I could think of. It may not be the most efficient way to do it, but it does work. So, here I have my script execution order list. This is a custom asset here. And so basically it's composed of a dictionary, I'll get to that in a minute, and an array of all the entries in there. And it's got the min and max order. You don't need to see those in the asset, but they're there. And a little thing to refresh the list if I need to. So what's in here? Well, hopefully this should look familiar. Unity Event System, Text Mesh Pro, Player Controller. Notice the values here. This is -1000, -110, 105, 150. The lower the value, the lowest value goes first, and the highest value goes last. Anything that's 0, all this huge list of zeros, these are the default time. This is all the scripts that were not defined with a value, and they're all in default time here. And at the very end, there's that test controller that's got a value of 100, so it goes after default time. Basically, I accessed and copied that list. So I could show you, I could zero it out. It's blank, but if I hit refresh list, boom, it analyzes it and everything comes back. So it basically goes through and it reads, show this again, this number here. So if I move this player controller, it's -50. I move it up here, now this becomes 103, this becomes 100, because it put it between 105 and 100, and it gave it a middle number. If I put it back, it goes back to 50. So this integer tells you what the priority is. Again, the lower the number, the higher the order. So the lowest number goes first. So apparently you're able to copy this information. I have to thank AJ for tipping me off how to do that. There's a certain class that handles this, believe it or not. Where is it here? Here, this mono importer. So mono importer, you can get all runtime mono scripts. And then you look through them and you check out what they are. You can get the type, and what the type is like, oh, let's put this over here. The type is like this manual update controller, or this manual update auto caller. You know, it's your mono behavior script type, but there's other classes other than mono behavior, I think, that show up in this one. So this test move towards would show up in there if I wanted it to. And so that gets that. And then it gets the name of it, and then you use the mono importer get execution order, and that'll send back that like -1000, 103, 105, whatever the execution number is. And that's honestly kind of all you really need. So it goes through and it gets all this stuff, and then I add it to the list of all entries. And then I do sorting, so I figure out what the order is, and then I make sure to sort everything into before default time, and after default time list. And then I condense that into one big list. And we pop out an array from that list to put in our all entries. It's a quick and dirty explanation. And that's what gives us this. So these are in order. So the first element in the array is the first one that needs to run. And the last element in the array is the last one that needs to run. And everything in the middle is strictly ordered the way it needs to be. So, you see where this is going. So in that array, I tell it to have a queue. So let's see, let me find it's not that one. Where's my little queue class here? Oh, here it is. So each entry in the array has a label. That's what you see here for the name and all that. That just makes it easier to read. Editor list name. So the name that in the window, in Unity's window where you can reorder stuff and add things to the list, it's the name that shows up there. Then the type full name is like its actual script program name, and that'll become important in a minute. And then the execution order, and then the actual type. So this gets a little convoluted here because you have to store the text name of the type. You can't just store the type. You cannot serialize a type. It will not save into an asset. So once the program gets turned off, this gets wiped. And so you have to find a way to get around that. So when I set the type comes in, and if it's a valid type and it's not null, it'll extract the full name out of the type. So type full name gets set into this string. And this string, of course, can be serialized. It can be saved. And it's just basically a text name of it. I don't know if it's actually shown here or not. Yeah, here. So type full name is TM Pro, Text Mesh Pro. So if we go down to manual update controller is a good example. So the name is just manual update controller, but the full name has the namespace in it. It's got the manual update system .manual update controller, and that's super important. You have to have that full name, because what you're going to do later is take this full name and say, hey program, what data type has that name? Can you find that one for me? And then it'll spit back one if it's a valid one. And that's how we go. That's how we get it on the other side. So when the program actually activates, it has to look up all these things. So that makes sense. Because again, you cannot save this type. So sure, we extract this type. Right? Right here, we extract the type, monoscript.getClass. And that gets you the type. So see, returns a type of type. And then we set that. But again, this gets wiped whenever the program starts or closes or whatever. So we can't rely on it. It's like a temporary cache. But what we really want is that full name. Because when we get type from cache, it's going to analyze that full name right here, get type from the full name, and it returns the type. And that's what we're going to use in our game. So it's a little workaroundy. Took a little bit to think of how to exactly to make that work. But I think this works quite well. And I think it's the only way that you can serialize and save the type that you want. You just have to reconstruct it on the other side. So that's fine. That works. Let's see. Trying to explain this in the least confusing way possible, and I'm pretty sure I've already failed at that. So that basically just constructs the list after that. It reorders it, sorts it, and all that. And you don't have to worry about that being efficient because that only runs in the editor. This needs to cache all this data and save it as a serialized object, which is basically just what this scriptable object is. Everything needs to be saved in there. So when you pop out the other end, when the game starts and it reads this file of all the stuff that you've got, it's got to populate this dictionary. Now dictionaries cannot be serialized, so you do have to do this at runtime. So I got my initialization runtime function. So this runs as soon as this script is enabled. It will run this process, which will be basically right when the game starts. So if there was, because you could refresh it technically. Download Big Brain to understand. Yeah. You could technically reinitialize at any time. So just to make sure that if that ever happens for whatever reason, that it clears out whatever's in the dictionary first. If there's anything in it, it clears it out. And then we construct the dictionary based on the stuff that we got. So this type cached is going to come again from this type from cache property that I have. So as long as there's something actually in this name, it will attempt to get a type out of it using that full name that we've saved previously. And then if it's an actual valid one, meaning it's not null when it comes back, then we want to add it into the dictionary. So a dictionary, if you don't know, it's like an array. So like when you make an array, you give it an index number. So element 0 has this data, and element 1 has this data, and it's a series of whatever the data is. So you could say it's text. Element 0 has this text. Element 1 has this text, and they always start at 0 and they go up. Dictionary kind of flips that convention on its head and says, instead of giving me a numeric for the series of data, how about we tag each element in the array with something special? So you can do anything. You can give it a string. You could say the key, they call it a key. Instead of giving a number key, you give it a string key. You could say, you can create an array of names in that sense. So Fred's got this data and Susie's got this data, and you literally send the string Susie or Fred or Frank or whatever it is, and it has corresponding data, attached to it, just like an array. So instead of giving it 0, 1, 2, you give it Susie, Frank, or David or whatever, and it gives you back the data that is associated with that. That's the key. So we're going to key our data on type. It'll be the quickest and easiest way to sort this stuff. So we go through all the entries that we cached, and we basically send a pointer to it. So this array is still the same data. And I don't know, C# doesn't talk about pointers too much. Like, they kind of exist, but they always exist too for classes. It's a little strange. If you come from the C++ side of things, you'll know what I'm talking about. That this dictionary contains pointers to the original array of entries of all these queues that we have. So the end goal here, to put it in English, is that when I go to all entries, they're sorted in the order that I need them to execute. Meaning the highest priority, the lowest execution value is at the top, and the highest execution value is at the bottom. So when I want to run these scripts in order, I just go from the first element in this array all the way to the end, and they're already pre-sorted for me. But when I want to single out, hey, which one of those in here corresponds to player controller, that's where you consult the dictionary. You say, hey, I want the element that's keyed on player controller, and I want the data from that. And it basically shortcuts from the dictionary back to the all entries, so they're sort of linked in that way. And so this kind of 2 ways to sort it helps you more efficiently analyze what's in play right now, and then put it in its proper spot so that it can execute in the proper order. So you'll see, I have to build this dictionary. You think of it as it's just like shortcuts. It's just little pointers that point back to the main list. It's just easier sorting. It's a different view of sorting. So if you're a SQL programmer, which probably nobody is here, you can think of it like a view in a way. So we have to make sure we establish this, because again, this dictionary cannot be saved. You need to reconstruct this every time the program starts. So that's what this is for. Now that we have all that, leading up to the big moment here. Alright, let's see. This is, okay, that's the asset that holds it all. So we've got to go back to the manual update controller. So here it checks to make sure that that list actually exists. And then we build our update queue. Again, the 2 big steps here are to analyze all the objects in play and sort them in the order they need to execute, and then actually run that execution. So here we clear all the queues, and we go to, we have to analyze every scene. So when it says scene, let me pop up Pocket Fighter, because there's actually multiple scenes here that you can take a look at. So here are the scenes. So the fight scene, well, let me close them up so you can see them all here first. There's the fight scene, the Suzaku Castle stage scene, and the Do Not Destroy Unload scene. That's special, and I'll explain that in a minute. So the fight scene's got like Ryu, it's got the hit sparks that are preloaded, it's got the Hadokens that are preloaded. So anything with the fight here, notice that Hadoken lights up here because it's been activated when I actually throw it out. All that stuff, all the hit sparks, all the main fight things, they're here in this scene. However, the stage scene is loaded separately. So you can think of them like level files. So you can load multiple level files on top of each other. If I go here and I turn off the stage scene, you see what happens. There's no stage. So all the elements that disappear here are part of that scene. And you can turn the fight off. And this just makes them invisible here. It's more of an editor thing. When's Evil Ryu? Or Evil Ken and Violent Ryu? Yeah, I know. I've been asked that 4 times this week by the same person. It would be great if you could put Evil Ken or Evil Ryu and Violent Ken in. And then they posted it again and again and again. I'm like, I got the message. I understand. Realistically, though, like characters that are clone, like more clone characters, like alternate versions of existing characters, it's going to be something that, you know, you want to get more original characters in first. So I would put, say, instead of adding another Ryu, I'm gonna put Chun-Li in. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, where's Shindan? No Shindan, fuck that. He's so dumb. If you don't know what that is making fun of Kage. Which I guess is technically an evil Ryu clone thing. I don't know, whatever. It don't matter. Anyway, so these scenes here have their own set of objects in them, right? So again, like I can turn off this scene and all those objects go off, and they've got a certain order here. When's Femdan? Femdan? What? Now Dan has a sister. If you didn't know, Dan has a sister. I'll put her in instead. Wouldn't that piss everybody off? Instead of putting Dan, you put a sister in. She's got the giant forehead too. It's great. But she only shows up in promo art, I think. Or no, doesn't she show up in his Alpha 2 ending? Whatever. Anyway, that's besides the point. So again, you see that each scene here has its own set of objects, and you can see that for sure when I turn them on and off. And they don't destroy on load, so these are mostly for system objects that you don't want to change. So here, to show an example of that, if I go to change the character, I went to a different scene. I noticed the fight scene and the stage scene are gone. They've been replaced with character select, which has all these objects. But the frames per second tracker, the sound mixer, the input, the screenshot system, resolution manager, all that has not been deleted. So they travel between different sections of the program. They're static in that way. Sakura's Femdan. Well, they've kind of built it that way in the war. Sure, I'll give that one to you. So these ones just don't ever destroy on load. They just are what they are. You can tell Unity to put things in this category. So it's like an automatic scene category. So anyway, that aside, to help explain what we're doing here. So we go to the scene manager and we see how many scenes are here. And we want to step through them in ID order. So we get a scene by the ID that this is just a normal for loop. Got scene 0. We go through and we get all the root objects. So what does that mean, root objects? Root objects are the things that you see here in the hierarchy. Child objects are objects inside of objects. So this sprite object is not a root object. It's a child object of player. And this rotation test and position test are all objects of player, and you know that because when you collapse down the structure of player, the only one that shows up is player. There's only going to be one root object, the one that all of them are attached to. So anything at the top level here, these are sub-levels, because they're indented. Anything at the top level, these are called root objects, because they don't have any parent object. That's what I'm getting here. I'm getting this list of main camera level, player, foul, matrix, manual updater, background. And then it's going to step through all of these, and now it comes in the order that you see here, from top to bottom. This is always the first, this is always the second, third, fourth, etc., etc. And we want to analyze that object to see if there's anything in there we need to run. So the way that I accomplish this is I have sort of a marker in the object script that says, hey, I need to be part of this manual update. I need to be a part of that. Now, not everything gets manually updated, and we'll get to that. But this interface, game object hook, inside the manual update system namespace is what we're doing. So I've got one thing, or not that one, player, did I closed the player script. Where is here? Edit. Don't want to remove. Every month, Ryu pays fight money to Sakura. What? Maybe. Oh wait. Maybe add Ryu and Sakura's child. Are you saying he's paying child support? Ryu's like, fuck this. I'm going to the mountains. You can raise the kid. He's gotta pay her flight money. You know it. I almost feel like Ryu might end up in that situation, like, cause he's a lot like Goku, where Goku's like, fuck raising kids. I'm going up into King Kai's planet. I don't care. I'm going to train. You can take care of the kids. That's your job. Now, Ken will take care of his kids. I don't know. Would Ryu take care of his kid? I mean, maybe. But he's really, really hung up on fighting and training. He might just be like, hey, look. Ryu's quietly loaded anyway. With all the money he makes from beating people up, sure, I guess. He's got no living expense. He's got no electricity bill. He's got no house, got no mortgage. Ryu's living the life. He just, he just doesn't have shoes. Oh, new follower. I'm sorry, I don't hear the jingle anymore. I really wish that chat would shout those out. I thought it used to. I thought chat used to do that. Maybe there's a check mark for this. Maybe there's an option and I just don't know about it. Anyway, yeah, sorry, let me get the name here. You won't make me pronounce that. Alright, I'll try my best. Wait, so it's J More High Me? Jamor Jaime 1? I'm sure I butchered that. I apologize. Well, thank you for the follow. It was 2 minutes ago. I'm slacking. Only chat announces subs in bit. Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought they did followers at one point. I'm gonna have to make something to, like I said last time, I'm gonna make something to announce it. Like, Scrubbot's pretty broken right now, so I don't know if I can make him do that. But I'll have to figure something out. Maybe I'll make like just a small bot dedicated to shouting those out, because I wish I could see him. I just can't hear the audio the way that it's set up now without the headset. But I don't know, I gotta figure something out. I gotta get this stuff cleaned up. So anyway, thanks for the follow. Now it's on me to get more sophisticated hardware going on here. See, I don't see it because my like XSplit's off on a monitor like 90 degrees to my left, so I don't see it in front of me. I gotta fix that. Let's see. We've got, where were we here? Oh, yes. So this game object hook, as I call it. So it's like you're hooking in to the game object system. Anything that has this interface incorporated with it is going to attempt to be called during this manual update. So you have your mono behavior and your class name, but then you have this interface hook onto it. Ryu will save the future by training Nerd Santa. Nerd? Who the fuck is Nerd Santa? What are you talking about? And it's canon. What are you talking about? Who's Nerd Santa? Oh, Dr. Light. Oh, right. Because Dr. Light in the Mega Man continuity is a practitioner of Ryu and Ken's. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense now. That makes sense. That's why he shows up in Mega Man X and teaches Mega Man the Hadouken. Apparently they just slipped that in the war to like, yeah, he practiced karate, and it was Ryu and Ken style, for whatever reason. Oh well, it is what it is. Yeah, Nerd Santa. It makes sense now. Dr. Light. Jesus. I'm waiting for you to draw that Dr. Light costume, man. We'll put him in. I actually don't even know if we can do alternate costumes yet. I still haven't figured that out. Unity's not it's not conducive to swapping assets like that in a crude manner. It wants everything to be kind of like preloaded and accounted for. So it's a little not working out too well on that end. You have to really, really trick it to do what you want in that regard. Anyway, he's actually a big fan of the Street Fighter games. Oh, he's talking about Dr. Light. That's funny. Capcom's got this weird continuity, man. This is really weird continuity. So is Street Fighter just a video game universe inside of the Mega Man universe is what you're saying. Hey! Uncle Roy got the bits again. Thanks, man. That's weird. That's weird that Street Fighter's a game inside of Mega Man's story, which is also a game. Capcom gets confusing and weird with their continuities. That's strange. Where does that come from? Is it from like one of the art books or something? I've never heard that Street Fighter was a game inside of Mega Man. Whack. Alright, anyway, so anything that has this hook is kind of like a beacon to that system that's collecting all the object data and says, hey, this thing, attempt to try to run an update on this thing. And what it'll return is this class name, this player controller. That's the type that it's going to return, anything that has this attached to it. So when we go here, it's going to look for components that have this interface, and it puts them into an array. And so what'll happen is going to look at these hooks, as I call them, and it's going to say get type. So again, get type doesn't return the interface name, it actually returns the class name. So it returns player controller. And remember what I was talking about, that dictionary being keyed on type. You make sure that the type is actually valid. If it's null, we don't want it. It's not going to do anything anyway. Now we check to make sure that the object is active. So if you've used Unity before, you know that you can go here and you can turn the object off or on, or you turn the component itself off or on. That's what it means. When it's checked, it's active. When it's unchecked, it's not active. So we want to make sure that it is actually active. And then we attempt to actually put it into this dictionary. Again, the dictionaries are keyed on type. So we can do lurk? Exclamation point lurk? What's that do? My bot don't do that. I don't have a lurk function. What's that supposed to do? What did you expect it to do? Maybe I can build it to do that. In the Pocket Planner, so the Mega Man Pocket Planner, says, anyway, when it comes to taking breaks, I find that enjoying a good fighting game is best. When said how I wanted to master the Hadouken and Shoryuken myself one day, Roll burst out laughing. That's funny. So is that like one of those, like a pocket calendar or something? That's funny. So that must have been Japanese only stationery merch. Yeah, what's work supposed to do? What are you expecting work to do? Klein, let me know. My bot don't do that. I don't have normal bots on here. I made my own, and it doesn't do much because it broke. That's funny. Mega Man's got some wacky extra stuff in it, and its continuity. It was written by the current series producer. That's funny. So yeah, I guess it's official. The Mega Man 11 guy. Current song. I don't have that either. Jeez, cut me a break. I actually have no idea how I would make that work. You can see what song's on there. Right? Oh no, it's broken. Oh no, it's broken. Hold on. I'm sorry. I was gonna say, it's on screen. You shouldn't have to guess. It's broken in it. Let's see. Here. Maybe it was off. Hey, there we go. Okay, you can see the name now. Scrolling at the bottom. Jeez. I'm a mess today, man. I had my back started acting up. I couldn't even sit at the desk. I had to go lay down for a lot of the day. I'm dying here, man. My arms are hurting, my back's hurting. Old age is hitting me like a goddamn truck. Anyway, so yeah, wheelchair emoji. That's absolutely what I'm feeling like today. So this is going to that dictionary. Again, keyed on type, so we've got the type here. So player controller comes in our example. And it says we want the entry that corresponds to player controller, and we say Q script. So what does QScript do? Basically, we've got a list here of hooks, and it just adds it to the list if it's a valid one. And it updates the link so I can see what it is in the inspector. Formally requesting the song be replaced with Strawberry Letter 23. I don't know what that is. What is that? You guys aren't cutting me a break here today. What the hell is Strawberry Letter 23? And why did it get seconded? I don't know. Hey, you guys won't give me a break today. It's harassment. This is online bullying. By the Brothers Johnson. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. I'm terrible with music and music references. I'm a horribly uncultured swine. Also end with Tank. Okay, I know what Tank is. That's the Cowboy Bebop theme. But I don't know Strawberry Letter 23. Y'all just mocking me at this point. Leave me alone. Cyberbullying. Well, time to play it. I don't know if I have it. Hold on. Do I have Tank? Let's see. I do. It might be a remix, though. It might be a remix. There's an album called Anime That Jazz. That's the only one I think I have. I don't know, fuck it, we'll put it in. If it's weird, we'll just stop it. Or fuck it, we'll let it play through, whatever. Alright, Tank's the last song. I'm gonna put it in rotation. There. Alright, you got Tank. I don't know about Strawberry Letter. Let me see. Doubt I have it. Strawberry Letter. No, nothing. Nothing. No. It's not in my library. I have the power of YouTube, but I can't connect that to my playlist. Anyway. So it queues the script up. It's just a list of script, or it's just a list of pointers to these object hooks. And the reason why I'm storing the object hook and not the type, so it's not storing player controller, is because it's going to have to search out the object hook component anyway and do this run update function. So everything that incorporates this object hook has to have this run update. So the game object hook.run update, and this is actually what gets updated when the object updates. So for the player controller, it updates the inputs, it checks the state idle, and if you're in idle, you can press left or right, and then it'll attempt to move to the next lane. Or if you're in the move lane state, it'll be moving from one lane to another. And then, that's why we're capturing, again, just the object hook. Is it up here? Yeah. So we just create a list, and this is very important. We have a list inside every... This is inside that all entries array. Again, right up here where we stored the name and all that. This little queue, the script queue is here. Now when we go down the list, the theory here, pull this one up. The theory here is that we hit this one, we capture the scripts we need. We hit this one, we capture the scripts we need. We hit this one, we capture the scripts we need. And then that way, everything in here is going to run first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc. Now when we get to sub-objects, that's a little bit of a different thing. But that's the main idea. And so we send those object hooks into, again, this list. And each list, remember, is represented by a type. So it's getting a little confusing to explain. Like, it's not that confusing, but to put it into words. Again, it represents this list. So those cues, again, are one cue for each entry on this list. And it'll put all the player controller cues, or all the player controller script calls in this queue. You need to inherit the playlist. I'm disappointing the Jasmine. I know. I don't have all the same music you all have, so... Oh no. Alright, let's see if this works. Hold on. Let's see if this works. I've been side-handed the proper files here. Shoot, where do I gotta put it? I gotta put it in this folder and this. Okay. Let me add it. I'll add it to the list. Okay. Alright, it's in there. It's in there. You crazy bastards. There we go. We'll hear it. It'll be the last song for the night. Unless you want it now. Let's see. Actually, I'm kind of curious. Let's just do it now. It's probably going to get me muted in the recording. Good thing I upload these on YouTube. There you go. You sons of bitches. You're taking over my show. You're bullying me into playing shit that's not on my list. Anyway, there you go. So again, these cues are going to be sorted into this order, and then the cues are going to be executed from top to bottom here. So you should be able to get a consistent, proper order out of the way that it's sorting these out. Hopefully that makes sense. So anything, it'll go object by object, and it'll sort every script that it finds by its type into those queues. And then it will execute those queues in proper order from top to bottom. So every player controller in any object here is going to run in this order when the player controller is supposed to execute in the stack of other scripts. So when it gets the player controller, if all these objects had player controller in them, it would do this one first, this one second, this one third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So you've got a top to bottom order, and you've got that script order, and it should be consistent and sorted properly. That's what this system does, and hopefully I've explained that clearly. It's like a two-dimensional array, if you want to think of it that way. And because the order of the way they're added reflects the order in which the objects are analyzed, all of it's sorted properly. And that's the major hook of all of this. Not this hook, just the linguistic hook. Now, okay, so that once you have that down, you just need to apply that to child objects, which isn't, thankfully, is not that hard to grasp here. So a child object, again, is just an object that's inside of another object. If an object is not inside of another object, that's a root object. It's on its own. It's its own parent, so to speak. But if an object is inside another one, it's parented to the one above it in the stack. So here, player has multiple sub-objects. It's got a sprite, it's got a rotation test, and a position test. Now the sprite also has child objects of the body and the trampoline. And that here you can see, let me turn off the gizmos here. So you can see the body here is the body of the character, and the trampoline is its own sprite. And they're both contained in sprite. So when this code... wrong window. Oh, did I close it? I think I closed it by accident. Okay, shoot, hold on. Oh no, it's still here. I'm sorry. It's still here. I thought this was the Pocket Fighter one. We don't need to look at that one. So here, once you're done getting all the scripts from this object, you want to look at its sub-objects, its child objects, whatever you want to call it. So we check to see how many child objects there are, and for each one, we want to get the object. Now you can't just run through the list of them. They're kind of out of order that I've noticed. So you want to do Unity's transform.getChild and give it the index number, and it will send you back the correct one. Because again, we want to make sure this order is always consistent. We want to go top to bottom. So this will be 0, 1, and 2. Now here's the thing, now that we've got multiple child objects in play here, it's going to go to that first child object. And again, this is the same function here. Method, if you want to call it that. We get the hooks, we check for what we need to do, and when we're all done with that, we go to the child object. And again, we check through and say, oh, there's no more child object here. So we bump back up to here again. It's the same function, so I'm just going up and down. And then we check object number 1. And so what that looks like in practice is the real order here. It goes main camera, level, player. Now player has sub-objects, so it says, alright, cool. We want to pop down to sprite. And we didn't find anything, but that's okay. We do whatever we need to do there. Now sprite has sub-objects, so we go to body, we go to trampoline. Then we go back up to rotation test and position test. Then we go back up here and we continue on. So it goes down as far as it can go and pops back up. So it'll go again, player, sprite, body, trampoline, come back to sprite's level here, to rotation test, to position test, back to player's level, and on to the next one. It'll go as deep as it can and pop back up and go up and down until it's all done. So it will not do player, sprite, rotation test, position test, and then go down to the next layer. It doesn't do that. It goes all the way down as far as it can first. So player, sprite, then goes down as far as it can go to body and trampoline, which are on the same level. Then pops back up. That's how the order works. At least the way that I programmed it. As long as you do that consistently, you're fine. Consistency is more important than the actual order that gets played out here. You have to make sure that it will execute in a predictable fashion every time. And that's it. And once it's collected all that data, then you've built the update queue. And then, again, all it's really doing here is it's building it into this list. And then it will play it out in order. It'll go from top to bottom and do each one of these one at a time. And if there's anything in their queue, it will actually play it out all the way down to the bottom. And again, this reflects that numerical order that Unity has in that menu. So we're kind of copying its its execution order. We're copying the execution order that's inside Unity. Now, it's not exactly like Unity's, and I'll get to that in a minute, because there's a caveat to all this. But that's the basic idea of how that's working. Because again, this just run the queues. It just goes from 0 to whatever the end is, and it runs them in order. And again, run update on queue. It just checks if there's anything in there, and if there's something in there, it runs it in the order that it was fed. So it's a mouthful. It's a bit to explain when you actually get to the nitty-gritty. And this may not be the most efficient way to do this in the world, but I think it's pretty good. I struggled to find any way to think about optimizing this without while we're still retaining the strict order that it needs to be done in. And that gives us the result that we see. So this player controller again is working off of this update script. He's being manually updated. So where am I calling this update? Right now, I've actually sort of cheated. And I just put a manual update auto color, and it's just calling unfixed update. So whenever it gets down, when Unity's update method gets down here to this, it just runs this script in it, and it goes ahead and it does it. And that, you know, that's not a bad way to do it, because if I need to call this any other time, you know, Unity's already playing this on its schedule. But if I need to do a rollback, or I need to do a fast forward or something, I can call this at any time, anywhere, and it will run through. It'll analyze all the objects in play, and it'll run through them, and it'll update them. You don't have to worry about it. It just does it. So again, really good for rollbacks, because I could say, run this 3 times in a row, and it will advance the game 3 frames in the span of 1 frame. And you need that for when you roll back and you have to resimulate the last 5, 6, up to 8 frames usually at any one given time. Now your game has to be fast enough to make that calculation happen. You know, 8 times in 1 frame cannot cause a frame skip. It has to be able to be done in that 16 millisecond window of your, and it's like 16.7 milliseconds, and that's 1/60th of a second. So you have to be able to update the game 8 times in 1 frame, essentially. Or really 9 times, because you got to do 8 rollback frames plus the actual update that's supposed to occur on that frame to keep the game running without stopping or stalling the frame. So you have to make sure that it's pretty optimized. So trying to think what else to really say about it. That's kind of the long and short of it. That's the long explanation. It just goes through each one, it pulls out all the scripts, and then it runs them in order. So you get that double sort order of what scripts need to run at what times, and then where in the hierarchy was that script. So the player controller in this one's always going to run before the player controller in this one. But the camera's always going to run last no matter what. So you have that double sorting going on. And that took a little while to get theorized and in practice. So, okay, here's the caveats. Unity doesn't update this way. Unity pretends like it updates this way, but it really doesn't. It doesn't. We've done some tests, or like I mean me, but I mean like I've been talking in the Discord all week about the progress, step by step, of what's been going on. But here's the sad truth: when Unity you call fixed update, or well, when Unity calls fixed update, because you can't call it, that's part of the problem. It won't go in order like this. It'll be like, oh, we're gonna do this one, and then this one, and then this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Like it's not random. There's some sort of algorithm going on behind the scenes where it decides what's doing what, and it seems consistent in what it's doing. Now, we've theorized in the Discord that it might be doing these based on what time, or what order that these objects were placed in the scene. Whether they were created while the game was running, or whether they were here to begin with. So if I created background first, this would be the first one to run in the scene. Now, this is theory. Don't take this, don't quote me on this. But then if you were to move background down here, well, then it would still run this first. And then it would run whatever was loaded second or third or whatever. And I think we noticed because the main camera is an object that gets automatically created when you have a scene. Whenever you open a scene or make a new scene, that this was always the one that was going first. No matter where in the hierarchy, I could move it down here and it was still executing first. Or maybe it was reverse load order or whatever, but you get the idea that it's not from top to bottom. There's no predictable pattern from top to bottom of what's going to order or what's going to run when, and that can be a big problem. Now here's the other problem. I can't make them in sync. I don't know how to read the data that Unity's reading in order to make its determination, and I don't even know everything that it's reading to begin with. So we have sort of a consistency problem. Anything that's under this manual update is not going to run, not going to run in the same order as when Unity does its own update. They're just going to be out of order. You cannot have that if you're going to be doing GGPO. Everything needs to be consistently running in the same order all the time, every frame, for whatever exists. So we have a problem here. How do we resolve that? Well, the simple answer is to segregate Unity's update from the manual update. Anything at all that uses manual update, don't let Unity update it. You'll have to run it in this manual update every time that it needs to update. If you let Unity touch it, it's going to run stuff out of order and it's going to screw things up. It's going to run on one order on one machine and one order on another machine potentially. And now you've got a desync between the two games. If it decides, hey, we're going to check Ryu punched Terry in the face, but Terry's power wave hit Ryu in the same frame, we're going to check the power wave first and make Ryu get hurt, and that will nullify the punch that Terry received. So Terry doesn't get hit because Ryu got hit by the power wave first. Well, what if Unity decides to update Ryu first? Ryu hits Terry. Terry takes damage, and then Ryu then gets hit by the power wave, so both of them got hit, right? On one person's game, only Ryu got hit. On the other person's game, because it updated out of order, Terry and Ryu got hit. Well, now you've desynced, and there's no going back from that kind of desync. You're not going to be able to undo that, because you don't know it happened. You have no idea it even happened. Unity's just like, yeah, that's what happened, bro, on both sides, and it doesn't match up. I mean, that's just a general example. The way that I've set up Pocket Fighter EX, that actually can't happen. They'll both hit regardless of the update order. But that's something that could occur. And say, maybe it's not a fighting game, maybe it's a platform game. Maybe if you attack an enemy, that nullifies the enemy's attack on you. Gives you that extra little one frame window of getting by being hit. You want to make sure that you do the player's update first. Check the player's collisions. Make sure that the enemy is killed and cannot affect the player at that point. You know what I mean? If you don't do that in the proper order, Unity decides we're going to do this out of order for one frame. Out of fucking nowhere at random. That system doesn't work. And you're going to have a desync in your games. So, manual update does not, in its current form, reflect Unity's update order. Now, if you used all Unity update order, you'll probably be fine. If you use all manual update order, you're probably fine. It's when you mix and match them that you're going to have the problem. If you do a rollback and it only uses the manual update during a rollback, you're going to have a different result, potentially, in those frames than you would have if you just somehow, if you could make Unity redo fixed update on command, which, again, I don't think is possible. Or not that I could have figured out. You would have a different result. So, again, the only way to make sure this doesn't cause a problem is you have to completely segregate them. Everything that's... You can think of it this way. Everything that's gameplay critical, anything that has a gameplay component to it, not talking about particles, not talking about sprites, anything that's specifically like player locations, player collisions, you know, bullets on the screen, their actual physical game existence, where what collides into what, all that stuff should be done in your manual update. It's the most predictable and humanly predictable way to update if you build this manual update system. Because again, we can go in as humans and we can see the order right in front of our eyes. Okay, it's just going to go from top to bottom, and it's going to respect the the script update order. That's all you have to worry about, and you can grasp that as a person. Cool. But when Unity goes and goes, oh, I'm going to update this first, and this first, and this first, and this first, and then this, and then this, it's like, well, how did you determine that? I see this from top to bottom. That's what I would have expected it to do. And actually, until this point, that's what I thought it did. I thought it just went top to bottom. It would make sense. Why doesn't it do top to bottom? Apparently, don't do that. It's got some other computer brain idea of what it's doing. And sometimes in programming, even if it's not the most efficient way to do it, sometimes just for your own sanity, having something that's humanly understandable can be better for your program, because you can better adapt and think about it in that way. So I haven't been able to figure out how Unity is determining, one, how it's determining what order to do, and two, how to even gather the data to make that determination on my own in my own manual process. So screw it. Who cares? I don't want it. We're not going to bother with it. Yeah, silly humans. So we're just going to do it the humanly intelligible way. It's going to go top to bottom. And that's what Unity's providing me. Again, like, this is not like I came up with this algorithm. This is just what Unity's providing me with. We go take all the scenes in order. Whatever scene is in what order, we take those in order. We get the root objects, which creates an array that, again, it reflects this from top to bottom. This is 0, 1, 2, all the way to the end. This is the order that this gives it to me. Unity is saying, yeah, this is the order of objects. If I move the camera from here to here, and I run this, get root objects, it actually reflects this order. Level is now the first one, player is now the second one. It actually reflects that. So if anything moves in the hierarchy, you can see that when it comes back. The order has changed. As far as I'm concerned, that's probably the most... I wouldn't say it's the most intelligent way to do it. There might be a reason that Unity is doing things out of order. It might be more efficient for them to do it in a certain way. But I don't see a problem with that order. That order makes sense to me. Whatever it is in here, in the editor, from top to bottom, that's what you get. Silly humans do not appreciate the strawberry letter. What the fuck are you talking about, Tim? I thought it was a fine song, alright? Jeez. You know, jumping over me. Oh, this fucking Strawberry Letter 23. The song that's probably going to get me muted in the recording. We'll find out, I guess, right after the stream. But yeah, so I don't have a problem with it giving me a slightly different order. The order makes sense to me. It's a very logical, sorted order for how to do stuff. It's very predictable. So if I go in here and I say I move level up here, I'll know that level's going to process first. And that's important. You know, having the ability to sort things in here in the scene to say, hey, level's going to run first, player's going to run second, everything else follows. That's important. There's no reason not to have that. So that makes sense to me. I'm fine with that. I think that actually works better for me as a designer building the game than whatever the hell Unity's doing. I have no idea what Order is doing. Tank will still happen. Yeah, Tank's in the list. Yeah, Tank's still in the playlist. I put that in there. Again, it might be some kind of remix or something. Because it's called Anime That Jazz Tank. I think that's a remix album of some sort. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. If it's dumb, then we can just skip it. So yeah, I'm happy with this. But here's the thing. Because, again, it doesn't jive with how Unity updates. You don't want to mix and match. You don't want to let Unity automatically update player controller via update or fixed update when you do this. You want to segregate it completely and say only when this manual update is run do we want to run the player script update. That's it. Let's see. Also add the whole Gundam Thunderbolt OST. I still have to watch that. I think I watched the first one, right? And there's, what, 4 of them now? I gotta get on that. Now that I've caught up on One Piece, what a monumental task that was. I gotta watch Gundam Thunderbolt. I'm catching up on Wupon Season 4. Or Series 4, I should say. It's not really season. I watched an episode, yeah. I watched the first one. I gotta finish that up. So here's what I was saying before. Think of everything in Manual Update as gameplay critical, and that will update in a more consistent manner, more humanly intelligible manner. And then anything that's not gameplay critical, like say even the animations here. Now Pocket Fighter EX is a little different. You really want the animations to be in consistent time. But say like the animations here don't really do anything. They don't change the hitboxes. They don't, like, there's just gonna be a hitbox on the trampoline, so when you catch items, and all the items are gonna have their own thing. But like the item's little animation doesn't do anything. It doesn't change anything. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about, just let Unity handle the animations that are playing. And anything gameplay critical, pipe it through here. Pipe it through this Manual Update. And that's really what I did here. If you look, this run update, there's no update or fixed update in Player Controller. None. We've got to start here because it's got to get things started. But the run update is never touched by fixed update. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Just let it go, man. Don't worry about it. And this does all of its code to do whatever it does. And this is only called by this Manual Update. And right now, all I did was stick a Manual Update auto color in here. So at some point during Unity's normal update, it will update this script. And this script will call the Manual Update. And it kind of doesn't matter when it calls it, because this has its own order of update. It's like a separate plane of existence outside of Unity's update. Nothing in here should be updating on Unity's side. It'll be strictly separate. So whenever Unity decides to call this, kind of doesn't matter. I mean, there's a little bit that you want to make sure that it's not calling completely at the end of the frame or at the start or whatever. There's a little bit of nuance there, but you really don't care so much in the middle where this gets called. Because this, again, its own sealed universe. It's got its own set of cues. Everything is ordered every time that this is run, no matter when it's run. So you can cut down on what you think of it as, like, think of it as gameplay critical and non-gameplay critical. Things like life bars and HUDs, they're not gameplay critical. The math behind them is. The counter of the life value of the character is. But like the animation on the life bar, that just follows that value. That tracks the value that's going through. Uh-oh. What's chat talking about? So safe the man 5 years late to Wupon the third part 4. Hey look, I've been busy. And I've been sick, so go go take a hike, Tim. That's the nicest way I can put that. Too busy closing the curtains for Kill la Kill. I watched Kill la Kill when it actually came out. That show was a guilty pleasure. That was absolutely yeah, we're gonna lock the door when we watch this. We don't need anybody walking in looking at Kill la Kill. Me sitting there and watching Kill la Kill on the TV. Might get some strange ideas about what's going on. Oh, that fucking show. Like, it was too good not to watch, but you're sitting there and you're like, I don't think I should be watching this. There's something weird about this one. Just a little bit. What are you doing with those scissors? Oh no. Oh no. Time to watch Brand New Animal then. I don't know what that is. And by the title, I'm not sure I want to know. I'm not into the whole, oh, it's that, oh, okay, it's Trigger's new show. Okay, I think I've seen on Twitter things have been going around about that. Okay, gotcha. Alright, that might be decent. I might check that out. By the Gurren Lagann and the Kill la Kill writer. Alright, fine. That's enough to get me into the seat. If it was an analogy, if it was a theater. It's enough to get me in the seat. I'll take that plunge. I'll have to go check that out after. Take that plunge. So this is where I'm left with. I'm saying, hey, everything that's gameplay critical is going to go through this manual update, and if I need to do a rollback, I need to do a fast forward, I need to do any weird stuff that Unity doesn't want me to do, or won't let me do, we're gonna break the rules and do that in our manual update. And then everything gameplay critical again is going to end up in there, and anything that doesn't, it's not. Now, that's a lot easier to separate in Hamster Drop because, you know, animations don't really mean much. It's mostly just hitboxes and a little bit of math of what's coming down. Even like when a hamster, so you catch hamsters in the game. Like when a hamster gets collected, once their object leaves the trampoline after they've been collected, they're really not gameplay important. Now, probably just for visual sake, still back up and reload that if I were doing that. Chat question. You ever use GameMaker? Any thoughts on it? I don't think very highly of GameMaker, and I don't recommend to use it. Would be the nicest way to put that. There's a lot of games that have been made in GameMaker that have technical problems. Controllers just don't work. Resolutions get weird. Sometimes the game doesn't want to go into full screen. It freaks out the computer. It's just not good. And people that have used it have told me that it has some really strange limitations. Now, some of this may have been resolved over time, as I know they've like remade the engine now. I'm not sure if it's still in beta or whatever. Like they've got the GameMaker Studio 2 or whatever. Maybe they've sorted some stuff out in that. But given their track record, I'm not interested in trying it. So like even take Undertale. I had to go through 3 controllers to get Undertale to register a controller and actually work. So, hey, hello, and an average hero says hello. Hello, what's going on? So that's what I would say about GameMaker. I know they've been making improvements over time. We just had someone in the Discord pop in this last week. He tried to make a fighting game in GameMaker. And he said that the asset management was such that like everything tried to load at once, so every time he would get so many characters in the game, it just wasn't sustainable. I don't know exactly how he was using it, but I've heard similar things from other people. It doesn't sound appealing to use as a game designer and programmer. It's just like, no, I'll use something that doesn't have these problems, thanks. And so I've been using Unity. Not to say that Unity's perfect, and Unity has its own problems too, and Unreal Engine's the same way. It's not perfect, and it also has its own problems, so you have to kind of pick your poison. But I think overall, Unity and Unreal are probably the top open and accessible engines that you're going to find. I wouldn't consider GameMaker a viable option. If you want to learn with it, and just use it to test out some stuff, fine, but I would not consider it, personally, for a commercial project. If you were going to make anything that you want to release and for people to actually use with the least amount of technical issues, GameMaker would not be on that list of things that I would choose. Just make your own assets when on Unity. Oh, instead of doing an asset flip? Yeah, really. So yeah, school makes you use Unity. I'm not too surprised by that. Unity has a lot of educational tutorials and stuff. Like, it's had a huge community behind it. Whatever. They've taken every opportunity to bring on people who do tutorials. They've uploaded people's tutorials to their site. They've done all sorts of stuff to get into the academic scene. Now, my guess is, and I don't have any evidence to back this up, but my guess is that there's more information out there about Unity than there is about Unreal at this point. So you might be easier to find help and to find resources online to help you in Unity than you would for Unreal. I think of like Unreal as like the Ferrari. If you need maximum optimization, you need maximum pixel pushing, Unreal Engine is what you're looking for. But if you're not making something cutting edge AAA, you don't have to use Unreal. Because I think Unreal is a little more complicated. It uses C++ instead of C#, which is more complicated. I can do both, but I can tell you that working in C# is a lot easier. No, C++ is not bad if you've learned it and you're adept to it, fine. But it is... You can think of C# as C++ easy mode. And there's some people that just don't want to work in C++. Yeah, the same here. So I learned C++ first. So I'm used to that mentality. And actually working in C# at first was kind of like, this is weird. I want control over memory. I want to do this stuff. At this point, I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I just don't care. Just take care of it for me. I don't have to worry about it. And I get caught. Didn't unload one pointer, and now there's a memory leak and all this shit. You know what? Fuck it, whatever. So Unity is easier to work with in that way. But again, see, and that's part of the reason why Unreal has higher performance, is that because you're doing manual memory management, because you're doing all this stuff, C# has to do all that in the back end, and that takes extra processing time. So C++ is faster to execute commands than C# is. So you already have that performance boost in Unreal right off the bat. And it's just it's more heavily optimized than that. And don't get me wrong too, because it's not just 3D stuff. Unreal can do 2D. You can do 2D games with Unreal. They've added a lot of functionality for that lately. So there's, if you're thinking, oh, it's 2D or if it's 3D, which one do I use? Honestly, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Now your assistant can add random scripts to your platformer project. What do you mean? Oh, new follower! Hey! Assisted Anarchy. Oh, right, the guy we're talking to. Thank you for the follow. So, yeah, short answer, your real viable options without doing your own engine, without getting into a lot of costs, is really Unity and Unreal. Just pick between that. I feel like Unity is a little more beginner friendly than Unreal for various reasons. Like, it's C#, not C++. And I've looked into both of them and I'm like, yeah, Unity just looks like it's a little easier to comprehend and to do stuff, but it's absolutely not as optimized as Unreal. But again, if you're not making a AAA game, you don't need that optimization. You really don't. If you're not doing anything super big, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Are you doing your own art? Both yes and no. So this is based off of the sprites from SNK vs. Capcom Match in the Millennium. This was on an SNK handheld, so it was like SNK's Game Boy Color. Tell us more about optimization. Yeah. So a lot of these sprites already existed from that game. However, because we needed more animations and such, we did add some. So, let's see, a good example. Oh yeah, the Shoryuken. The Shoryuken's last frame is actually this. And then this frame didn't exist, and it would just go to this frame. So I put a transition frame, so I drew this transition frame to put in here. Oh, there's Tank. Yeah, I think this is a remix. I don't think it's the right one. I don't think it's the normal one. So Pocket, who helps out with the sprite work, he did Kaku Fubatsu. So that's from Street Fighter V, where he does the parry, and then he does the punch. And then we did an additional attack after that, like a little uppercut move. So that's all. And here's the activation. This is all custom. See? And then, actually, Terry doesn't... His wake-up attack is not a physical attack, so I'm going to do 2 Ryus. So we put Street Fighter V's Kaku Fubatsu in. And they crumple, just like in Street Fighter 5. In here, it's a super. It's a one-time use, but you get more time to do stuff. I made a tank intro for my Twitch, if you're interested in watching. Alright, I'll check that out after the stream. I'm a little leery about just clicking random links from the Twitch chat. We got burned before doing that. We're not doing that no more. We got burned by going to Twitter on chat, or on live on stream. So we're not doing that anymore. We got a Discord, if you want to pop in there too. Continue the conversation offline. How's that for a nice buzzword? There. Scrubbot's got you hooked up. If you got Discord, go ahead and pop in, and we can take a look at that later. Uh-oh. Edge is going nuts. I hate that Edge, the Microsoft Internet browser, will respond to controller presses. So I'm doing a combo here, and it's going to different pages on the web browser. It's all messed up. Whatever. Yeah, so some of it's new stuff. I did the menus. Now this art here on the right side is stuff, again, from that Match of the Millennium game. But I did, like, the menu design here. All that kind of stuff. So we did, Nas did the artwork here, and I pixel arted the artwork that he did. But I made the menu here. So it's kind of a mix and match. We added what we needed to add, but a lot of the stages were originally from Match of the Millennium. Now I enhanced them a bit. I added some layering and made them a little bigger and added animation here and there. So there's more stuff to it, but oh, and that's the time's up signal. So we're gonna have to wrap it up. Just put up the webcam if you want to get burned. Oh, that's mean, Tim. Bro, that's that cuts deep, man. That cuts deep. You having a bad day today? Too many shoulder rubs. Yeah, there's that too. Have to be careful what goes on if the if the camera comes on. So we've done. I guess. We've done some additional animations. So, say Chun-Li doesn't have all of her typical animations. Let's go to the Pocket Fighter EX folder here. So under Resources, Fighters, Chun-Li. If we pull up Chun-Li's sheet 2, which one's that? Oh, I was retransferring her stuff. Let's see. Let's get the original sheet here. Alright, so Chun-Li's original sheet from Match of the Millennium doesn't have a lot of her third strike animations. So even though like Street Fighter 3 and CVS 2 were kind of coming out around that time, they used Chun-Li's alpha animations, which for the most part is alright. But I don't really like some of the attacks animations from alpha. So here, I've made these ones. I've made different hard punches and hard kicks. And I can show you the animations. So these ones, I did do. So like here's her double air punch move. So I've animated that. I did these frames here. There's previous episodes. What were you thinking? What do you mean, what was I thinking? So here's her air neutral heavy kick. where she does that split kick in Street Fighter 3, 4, and 5. I like that one better, so we did that instead of whatever Match and Millennium had. Again, Match and Millennium had all the alpha attacks. I didn't like that. But here's her little back fierce attack, so I did that one. I'll just play it on. And I did her backdash. Most of these are reused frames, so I can't take much credit for that. But it's different than the backdash she had in Match and Millennium. It's more like her third strike one where she steps backwards and spins backwards. Her back grab. I'm proud of this one. I thought this one was good. This one I animated a lot of stuff on. So that's her Street Fighter 4 back grab. Was not the one used in Match and Millennium. Match and Millennium only had one grab animation. They used it for forward and backward. But this is way more. I always loved Chun-Li's back grab in Street Fighter 4. I thought it was really great. It's better than 5's too. I'm proud of this one. Especially this frame. Oh, hold on, let me stop it. I love this frame. I had fun making that frame. Then I had to do this one. Yeah, like it was the grab, yeah, and then getting that and then spinning around. That was cool. That was fun to animate. I like that one. That one took a little while, but that was good. I like how that one came out. Oh, this is back heavy kick. I don't think I did too much on this. Most of these frames were pretty much how they were in Match and Millennium. I just retimed them. Oh, yeah, her third strike punch. I'm not 100% happy with it, but it's not terrible. Her third strike heavy punch. She had the same thing in 4 and 5. Where's the forward heavy or the heavy kick? Neutral air kick, back fierce, forward HP. Wait, Chun-Li heavy punch, forward HP. Oh, that's the air one. Yeah. Where? Oh, here it is. Here it is. This is her third strike heavy kick. The one where she jumps up and kicks. It was also in Sevius too. I like that one. So, yeah, we're in overtime. Here, you know what? I'll put one more track in. It's a duplicate track from earlier. You'll like it. I played earlier tonight. Shoot, make sure I don't get the name wrong here. The base animation for this one wasn't mine. I'm trying to get the guy's name here. I think it's Graphicus? Let me make sure I got it. Oh my god, I'm searching through Discord logs here, trying to find them. We had a big old conversation. Yeah, so on Discord he goes by the name Graphicus, so he did the base animation here. I did some corrections and did the coloring. And he could have done the coloring, but I like doing the coloring, so I told him not to. We want to make sure the animations are done in 3-color format first, just like the original Neo Geo Pocket games. So this is, of course, the higher color version. I've added colored outlines and, you know, given them the colored in the skin tone and all that, but normally, shoot, I don't even know. Oh, here. So the normal sprites look like this. Actually, I changed the color here to better match my sheet, but really it's just pure black. So this is what the original sprites looked like. Very limited color. So when we bring them over into the game, I color them up, give them more color depth. I don't really add shading per se, but just to keep that retro look, just keep the flat colors, but, you know, actually give them a skin color and stuff like that. I find coloring fun, so I like doing that part myself. But we want to make sure that the animations are done as they originally were in these 3 colors. There's only black, red, and white here. Because they're very clear here. You have to draw very clearly and very concisely to convey what's going on in the motions and make sure it's readable. I want to make sure that we go through that process to make sure the animations work really good in their 3 color. So if they work good in 3 color, they're going to work good in 8 color or whatever the color count happens to be. Because the other thing that I'm adding in, or already have added in, as an additional feature, because I figured it would be fun, is to add the original colors in. So all the sprites have to work in the 3 colors, because the classic palettes are in here. See? So even all the new animations, all the palette effects work on this old color format. And all the effects are still only 3 colors anyway. The Denjin is like 2 sprites in one, so that's got a little more color and it flashes. But so yeah, like Shin Shoryuken, it's a new animation. Well, some of it is, but all the old color still works with it. Overtime sign break challenge. See? It all works. Alright, sign challenge. Alright, we'll do sign challenge. You want sign break challenge? So sign break challenge could see how the signs will break when the character goes through them like the old games. Can you break... can you break both signs? Wow, that was glitched. Can you break both signs? Oh, this is going to be tough. This is going to be tough. Can you break both signs in one combo? Oh, this is going to be a little rough. I'm going to have to get the stick for this. Hold on. Hold on. Let me get the stick. I'm not going to be able to do this on pad. It's not going to work. Where's my cord for the stick? Hold on. This it? This is it. Alright. Hold on. Alright. I get plugged in. And plug it in. You have until the 23rd strawberry letter is delivered. Okay. Oh, screwed that up. There we go, baby. There, and just let them fall into the second sign. There you go. How about that? Ain't that fun? Let's say, can we go backwards? I don't think I can go backwards from there, though. Hold on. No, that's not gonna work. Thinking like if I could get behind them and do it this way, but I don't think there's enough time. I think you have to start over here. Oh, and of course I screw it up. I changed the timing of the run on that now to fix a couple of issues. But I got it! I got it like the first try, so fuck you. Alright, whatever. There was a new combo I was screwing around with, actually. I haven't tried it on stick yet. Yeah, it's a lot easier to do on stick. You can... I didn't time it right, but... You can get another Tatsu there, and then you can do an EX Tatsu there. Don't see it? What do you mean don't see it? What don't you see? What happened? What happened? What do you mean don't see it? I see it. The stream preview sees it. What don't you see? Or you didn't see the double sign challenge? I completed that. Did not see the sign break. Would you go take a piss or something? Alright, I'll do it one more time. Oh, hold on. That was a mess up. Oh, I hit him over it! I hit him over it! I was thinking I don't want to do the EX now. Because I don't want to hit him over it. I want to hit him right directly into it. Alright, we'll do what we did last time. Oh, hold on. Time to move the sign. Well, the detection's a little wonky too. Like this will break it sometimes. I didn't do it there. There's something weird about the detection because sometimes when I do it in the corner, like it'll break when I'm hitting him like directly in the corner. It's a little weird. I'm not sure what's up with that. Yeah, like right there. Why did it break there? It should not have broken there. Why would it break in that situation? Like that. Why did it break there? He wasn't touching the sign. So there's a couple glitches, but... Yeah, well, see, that's the other thing. Unity's detection is a little wonky, so... Again, this is why we're going to do our own. Shit. Come on. Now I'm screwing it up. Ah, I missed the run. Ah! Alright, I don't have to do the jump. At least I don't think so. Yeah, I don't have to do the jump. There. There, see? He hit both signs. You happy now? Needs Ken and Terry sign challenge. Terry's a little broke right now, so it might not work. I'll check those later. We're gonna have to close it out. Anyway, the new combo I was working on, instead of like landing with a Shoryu, land with a Tatsu, and if you do it high enough, you can get a Shoryu and an EX Shoryu at the end. He doesn't need to. You don't need to counterattack right now. If you do it too low, you're not going to get it though. You won't have enough time. See, if you do it too low like that, I don't think there's enough time for the Shoryu on that. You gotta do it right at the top. Tell us more about how busted Unity's detection is. It's not deterministic. Let's put it that way. Let's see. It's tough. The timing's a little tough because you gotta get it right at the tip. Right at the apex of the jump as high as you can. I'm trying to alter my timing a little bit to get the optimal, but see how he's just bouncing out? You gotta make sure it's a little bit lower to get that last hit there. And then I didn't do it in time, but... So if you look at the hitboxes, if you want to slow the footage down after the fact, see how the hit just barely missed it. There, that's a good one. You gotta get it right at the tip of that hitbox with the Tatsu. How about that one? How about that shit? That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. You can do some interesting stuff in this game. I'm surprised it works in Pocket Fighter EX at all, considering our difficulty with the platforming code. Yeah, it's not exactly. Oh, music ran out. Let me feed. Here. You can have that, and then tanks next. How about that? I'll close this out here. Recycling all the chill tracks. Yeah, I think it's because we're working on the microcosm level. When we're doing the platforming code, it has to be that precise as we can possibly get it. Where, like, that's like, 10 digits down from the decimal point. You know what I mean? And that amount of difference is not going to make or break so much stuff in Pocket Fighter EX. Now, you really could, because of the floating point errors, you really could implement a replay system, and it's possible that like 1 out of 1,000 times that punch just doesn't reach Ken, and it kills the whole determinism of the game. It's absolutely possible for Unity's detection to do that because of the way that it's all wonky. It's absolutely possible, and that's why we have to redo all of that. Oh, I missed it. Oh, missed it. New follower! Hey, we're doing good tonight! Ladino Crow? Is that right? Ladino Crow, thank you for the follow. Oh, I did it too early again. I've been retiming a little bit. Some of the... Oh, that's not what I want. Been retiming a couple things here. It's gonna show. There you go. Oh, I wasn't meant to do a yet show you after that. Run everything at 10x or 100x size. You could still get that microcosm of difference, though. There's no way to tell Unity to truncate those numbers properly, because Unity's math is just bad. It's using floating points. It's not going to be consistent. Even if you give it consistent whole number data, it's still not going to be consistent. You know what I mean? And you want that level of detail in most cases. You don't want to stunt that. Maybe you only want to go down to like the 3rd decimal place. But you know what I mean? It might be, depending on how you set it up. If you tell it that you cannot use fractions at all, and it has to be using whole numbers, and you've enlarged the sprites on all the game objects to meet that criteria, where, say, 1 Unity unit is a pixel, as opposed to being 16 pixels or whatever you want to think about it as, you might be able to get away with that. I still wouldn't say that it's foolproof, but it would be a little more consistent. So one thing that I did in Pocket Fighter EX right now is I limited the animation output. So like when I do a Shoryuken, the animation itself is actually moving Ryu up into the air. So when that happens, Unity is giving me a value back that says you're moving this far, because the animation moved, so much during the update. I'm actually truncating that to the 3rd decimal place, I think. Either the 2nd or the 3rd. Currently. And that's helping a little bit with some of the consistency problems, but it's absolutely not foolproof, because the animation itself is going to update at an incorrect, slightly random value. And over time, over so many frames, you could get an animation that runs 1 frame faster than it's supposed to, or 1 frame slower than it's supposed to, and that screws up the whole game. Because it's random. It's not replicatable, it's not consistent. That glitch will just happen at random, because the floats happen to sequence the errors in a certain way, one time, 1 out of 1,000, 100,000 times that you're playing the game. But if you think, 1,000 people playing 100 matches a day, well, you've hit that 100,000 threshold really quick. So it's like, oh, that'll never happen. It's only 1 in 100,000 games. Well, that can... Only 1,000 people playing 100 matches a game, and you've already hit that. And that's every day that that glitch is potentially going to show up. So that's not acceptable. It's not an acceptable margin of error. So I've got to do it some other way. And that's what all this other work is about, to be honest. This is what it's all for. This is why I'm doing the side project here. To figure all that out and make sure once all this works, I'm kind of like going to reconstruct a base level recreation of the game. And if it works, and it works consistently, then we take that technology and we incorporate it into Pocket Fighter EX. 10 times Biggie. Yeah, 10 times bigger. It's bigger than Biggie. Alright. Tank's back up, so we're getting out of here. So thank you very much for everybody that showed up, hung out, followed, everything. If you're watching this on YouTube or LBRY after, hello. And back in or hello in the future, I guess. It'll be back in time for this broadcast, but it'll be the future for you. So thank you very much. We're gonna close around out. I got patrons to read off, so we do have a Patreon, and they do support me in my personal efforts through all the projects that I'm associated in. And we've got Zombie Killer, we've got Miguel Tabasco, Rui Luis, Uncle Roy, Mike Cruz, Taryn Williams, Corporal Chungus, Bryce Nagalinum, AJ, Anthony Moniz, D-Money107, and LD Walker. So thank you very, very much. And they won't hear me because of the copyright strike. Well, on Twitch it'll censor it, but I record all of the videos locally, so they'll go up on YouTube as is, unless they just copyright strike the video down right from the heavens, shoot it down with the almighty YouTube lightning bolt, and then it's screwed. We're always in danger of that. YouTube changes the rules every day, right? So anyway, yeah, if supporting this channel and me sounds interesting to you, the link's down below. You can get advanced builds of Pocket Fighter EX and everything else we do. And do all that stuff. Check that out. We've got Discord. If you're here live on Twitch, Scrubbot's got the link for you right down there. Otherwise, it's down in the video description below. Yeah, deleted. Delete me right off YouTube, but it will not delete off LBRY. If you watch us on LBRY, that's a great place to catch us because I don't have to censor anything. I don't have to cut anything out. So check that out. That's LBRY /@GameDevScrubs, I think. I'm not sure what the I should remember what the URL is, but you'll find the links down below. So anyway, even if you're on YouTube, cross promotion, siphoning the YouTube users and sending them to LBRY. Yeah, I should. You're right. I should have the link with Scrubbot. I'll program that in after. That's a good idea. So anyway, hit us up on Discord. I'll be there throughout the week. Otherwise, I'll see you guys back on Monday. And it's, oh man, it's already May. What the hell's going on? May 4th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on May 4th. We'll be back more Pocket Fighter EX. And on Sunday, May 3rd, we'll be playing some sort of game. Depends on what we get through at this point. So me and Amber will be playing, and that'll be around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. That's where we play games and yell and shout and do all sorts of stuff. So that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys later, and scrub out.